Paranormal Buzz Radio is proud to present Good Luck Sleeping with your favorite spooky sisters, Rachel and Kayla.
The views and opinions expressed in our podcast by us or our guests do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors.
Use of any material by Paranormal Buzz Radio or Good Luck Sleeping without expressed written consent is strictly prohibited.
For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit their website at paranormalbuzzradio.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Twitter and Instagram.
Due to the nature of the content we discuss, listener discretion is advised and not recommended for those under 18.
Hello, spooky soulmates, and hello, Kayla.
Hi, Rachel.
How are you doing today?
I don't know. You've got this wicked sparkle in your eye.
I have some jokes that are very applicable, so I would like to share some with you.
Okay.
For today's episode.
Okay. Do we want to tell them what our episode is or just do the jokes first?
Well, let's do the jokes. I think they'll get it.
All right.
All right. What cult is the hardest to get into?
Can't say that I...
The difficult.
Okay. Yeah, that was appropriate.
I've got a few more.
There's that many cult jokes?
Yeah, I just Googled cult jokes, and there were quite a few. I left my cult because of the ladies. They were definitely the weaker sect.
Okay. I
considered giving up my honey business and joining a cult, but I'm just not a believer.
Oh my God. Oh, it's like two-pronged, the bee and the lever. Wow.
Oh, I think that'll do it. That'll do it.
And that's probably the funniest this episode's going to get because we're going to try to be as like chill.
I mean, a lot of sad things happened around these next few tales, unfortunately, but they're fascinating. We were just talking about how fascinating cults were, and we both have...
I mean, I think I used the word insane.
It's fascinating to me that mind control can be that powerful, you know? And that people can fall that into line, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a slow roll. And so it kind of sneaks up on some people.
I was also thinking that really most of us are pretty susceptible to this kind of, I don't know, I guess
brainwashing.
Yes, because we've all kind of had our own tales with that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, not to this extent.
Well, I mean, you think about like subliminal messaging.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't even realize it's happening. And then if you like look at like what all the content is in songs these days, as opposed to songs back in like the 1960s, 1970s,
mm-hmm.
like you can just tell how they've kind of put this message into our music today. But that's a whole other episode.
Yeah, that is a whole other episode. But that's
maybe
true.
We should cover that one too.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, like, even with religion, I mean, there are people that will die for their faith, hands down. But so we'll get into those. We'll get into them. But how have you been?
I'm pretty good. Work's been really good. I just did something that I'd put a lot of effort and time into. It was kind of my baby, and I pushed it up through the ranks. And it just got approved. So that was pretty cool.
Very nice.
It's nice to feel like I've made a niche for myself at my job that nobody else can fill.
That's right. Yeah. You're appreciated and cherished at your job. Yes. So that is nice.
How are you?
Doing great.
It's been a rough week.
It has been a rough week. We had to put my 14-year-old dog down. So it was a very, very hard week. I had a hair trauma too that was not as heart-wrenching, but it was a little traumatic for me.
So Rachel is very I don't think you've ever been happy with your hair as long as I've known you. But the one thing you want is to be blonde.
Mm-hmm.
And we were supposed to hang out with her because we were trying to distract her from losing Lola and how sad that was.
Yes.
And she was just like, gotta cancel, hair emergency. And so we all go over to the salon.
Yep.
And walk in, and she has bright purple hair.
It's purple, guys. It was purple. Purple.
Yeah. And apparently the lady misunderstood how you're supposed to wash out bleach and dyed hair separately, and the dark bled onto the blonde and turned purple.
Well, she was kind of hoping because because I like my hair to have the dark undertone. I know that's very early 2000s, but I still love it.
She wants like Christina Aguilera vibes.
Yes, I like the half blonde, half really, really dark. So the dark that she put on there was like a purple black, okay? And it's semi-permanent. Yeah, well, she was hoping that it would tone when she washed it all out together, the blonde, so that the blonde would be like that icy blonde. But no, it was just purple hair. And then I got out and I didn't feel blonde anymore. And I've just been fighting for this bright blonde, and it's been unobtainable for me. And I had a little bit of a breakdown. It was that on top of, I was losing Lola really, but that was kind of the last straw that pushed me over the edge. And I just sobbed in my friend Meg's car, and we drove around and looked at Christmas lights and ate Taco Bell. But I did feel a lot better after, and the hair has kind of sorted itself out with some extra toning, extra work, a deep conditioning treatment.
Well, and your son said you look witchy, so that was kind of like,
yeah. I was like, okay, man, I'll take that. So yeah, but anyway, where can you find us? Let's move on from my sadness and talk about the podcast.
Yes. If you want to be one of our spooky soulmates and join our most popular community, I would suggest you follow us on the Facebook group, The Good Luck Sleeping Podcast. We put evidence from our episodes. We have polls, discussions. It's a great place to be. Mm-hmm. On Instagram, we are the Good Luck Sleeping Podcast as well. We have some of our TikToks are on there, but we have graphics and surveys when we find time to do them. We've got a lot of fun stuff there too, and stories. And then we have a TikTok, obviously, Good Luck Sleeping Podcast as well. And we put a lot of effort into that. So if you could go follow us, that'd be awesome. Mm-hmm. And then we also have a Twitter at GL Sleeping, if you want to follow that. And if you want to listen to the show, we are officially hosted on Spreaker by the Paranormal Buzz Radio, but you can really just Google us or look us up on Apple or Spotify, and you will find us, Good Luck Sleeping Podcast. And if you have your own listener story, we just released a listener stories episode, but we are always collecting listener stories, whether they're true crime or paranormal, whatever freaky experiences you've had. Send it over to us, goodlucksleepingpodcast@gmail.com.
There we go. And if you feel so inclined, please leave us a review at Apple Podcasts, because that helps us out, helps us to be seen, and just pushes us up through the ranks. So please leave us a review.
Yes, we appreciate it.
I do want to add, though, that even though my week was very bad, I don't stay in the sadness. It's important to feel the sadness and then feel the dark times and then move forward.
Yeah.
So I feel like there have been many weeks in a row where I've not been doing great, but as a whole, I'm a very happy, positive person. It's just, I have some humps to get over, especially lately, but things are on the up and up, and I would say overall I'm doing really good. So I don't want people to be concerned if they hear me having a hard time. But
no, Rachel is usually a very upbeat, chaotic, if you will, person that's just let's go have a fun time.
Enneagram 7, if you will.
Yes.
All right, I will start, and the cult I'm doing is called Heaven's Gate.
I think it's so funny how we accidentally tie in every single time, because I'm doing Angel's Landing.
Yeah, well, the reason I chose this one was because I remember it.
Really?
Yes. I don't remember when it happened. When did it end? I'll have to find the date that it ended. But do you remember Halley's Comet or Halley's Bop Comet? Do you remember that?
I mean, I know of Halley's Comet and it coming around every so often.
Yeah. So I was young, 97. It was 1997 when this happened. And they all passed away during that comet, because I'll get into why. But I remember the tie-in. I remember the cult. And this was my first understanding of what a cult was and learning about it. So that's why I picked this one, is because it kind of has an impact for me.
Interesting.
Okay. So start out with the definition here. The way that I did my research was I grabbed some questions that I would like to know about the cult, and then I researched each question to find the answer for that through various sources. Okay. So, but just as far as an overview, Heaven's Gate was an American new religious movement, often described as a cult. Okay, it was a cult. Founded in 1974 and led by Bonnie Nettles. She lived from 1927 to 1985. And Marshall Applewhite, who is kind of the headliner of this cult. He's got the creepy stare, all white hair. 4, and he was born in 1931, passed away in 97.
Why do cult leaders never have normal sounding names?
Marshall Applewhite. I don't know.
It's always like super Southern, or it's just weird.
Yeah, Bonnie Nettles. I think that's an adorable name. That sounds like a sweet grandma.
That's how they get you.
Right? Get you. So the two of them were known within the movement as T and Doe, respectively.
Wait, what?
They had a lot of weird nicknames.
I guess Applewhite just didn't roll off the tongue, so he went with T. Or no, was he Doe?
He was Doe. Yeah.
Okay.
Nettles and Applewhite first met in 1972 and went on a journey of spiritual discovery, identifying themselves as the two witnesses of revelation, attracting a following of several hundred people in the mid-70s. In 1976, the group stopped recruiting and instituted a monastic lifestyle.
Monastic?
I don't think that's it. Anyway, we're really smart. So, scholars have described the theology of Heaven's Gate as a mixture of Christian millenarianism, New Age, and ufology.
You guys know, we just do our best.
We do our best. And as such, it has been characterized as a UFO religion.
Interesting.
The central belief of the group was that the followers could transform themselves into immortal extraterrestrial beings by rejecting their human nature, and they would ascend to heaven, referred to as the next level or the evolutionary level above human. The death of Nettles to cancer in 1985 challenged the group's views on ascension.
Okay.
Where they originally believed that they would ascend to heaven while alive aboard a UFO, and later coming to believe that the body was merely a container or a vehicle for the soul, and that their conclusions would be transferred to new next level bodies. Oh, no. That their consciousness, would be transferred to the next level bodies upon death.
This was right around the time where aliens became a thing.
Yeah.
This is so funny to me that they're like, aliens. Let's make a cult around aliens.
Well, and then things happen where it challenges their belief system, and then they just kind of have to adapt it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, no, we're going to physically be on spaceships and go up there. Just kidding. Our spirits are just going to go up there, and then we're going to get new bodies.
It
is every cult.
Well, not even just that. Religion itself.
That's true. It gets adapted when things don't quite work out the way that you had originally taught.
That's why I have such bad trust issues with religion right now, because it's like you just keep twisting it until it matches your rhetoric. You know?
Well, that's true. Anyway, that's a whole other podcast.
Right.
Okay, so you're going to love this. How did Bonnie Nettles and Marshall Applewhite meet? I thought that would be a good thing to dive into.
Was it a cute meet cute? Was it a meet cute?
What's a meet cute?
You don't know what a meet cute is.
No.
Have you seen The Holiday?
Not in a really long time. I don't really do romantic comedies.
Okay, so it's like where a guy and a girl just meet in this really cute, like, picturesque way. Like, one guy is ordering a coffee and the girl strolls up and orders a coffee and they connect. And
tell me if this is what you would consider a meet cute.
Meet cute, yes.
Meet cute. Okay. They met in the early 1970s when Applewhite was a patient at a mental hospital. And and Nettles was a nurse. Is that a cute meet? Meet cute?
No, that sounds toxic.
Okay. He was a divorced college music professor, and she was a married mother of 4 who left her home to follow her vision with Applewhite. So that's a meet cute, right?
What is it with these men meeting these women and then persuading them to just follow them on their journey of insanity?
He was a patient at her mental hospital.
And she fell for it. And was like, hey, this is the guy I should follow.
So then the next question I had was, why was Applewhite a patient in a mental hospital? Okay. For the first 4 decades of his life, Marshall strove...
4 decades?
Yes. He strove above all to do his father proud. He followed his father, what do you think his father did for a living? What do you think?
A salesman?
No.
A farmer?
A Presbyterian minister.
Oh, of course it's something religious.
Yes, so he followed him into the seminary, devoted himself to his church, married and had 2 children. He taught music at a Catholic college, led choruses at Episcopalian and Unitarian churches, and sang with the Houston Grand Opera. But by early 1970s, Applewhite could no longer hide his secret. For several years, according to friends and former cult members, Applewhite had been engaging in homosexual relationships.
I was about to say he's gay.
Yep. So in 1970, he was fired from his post as a music professor at Houston's University of St. Thomas after administrators there learned that Applewhite was in a relationship with a male student.
Okay, that's like pedophilia.
Well, not in college.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess not.
The Catholic University called the reason for the firing health problems of an emotional nature. Mm-hmm. So he was depressed, ashamed, and suddenly hearing voices, and he checked himself into a psychiatric hospital the following year and asked to be cured of his homosexual desires. This was according to James Lewis, who is the author of a book on UFO cults, and Robert Balch of the University of Montana, and former members of the cult known as Heaven's Gate. Applewhite felt guilty about his homosexual affairs and, according to Balch, confided to at least one of his lovers his longing for a meaningful platonic relationship where he could develop his full potential without sexual entanglements.
Entanglement. That's been a word that's resurrected itself recently.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Instead of saying that you've had an affair, you have an entanglement.
Oh, from Will Smith and Jada Smith? Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to know what drew the pair to each other.
Right, because if he's gay.
And she was a married mother of 4. They had their religion to connect them, but...
And he was a patient.
Correct. Okay, so for about a year before he and Nettles met, their lives seemed to encounter severe upheaval and personal confusion. He had an illness, and let's see, one of the nurses there, which was Nettles, told him that he had a purpose and that God kept him alive. She sort of talked him into the fact that this was the purpose, to lead people, and he took it from there. Applewhite and Nettles immediately became inseparable. Nettles was also an astrologer, and according to several academic studies of the group, she had dabbled in numerous metaphysical theologies, combining Christian ritual with elements of paganism, science fiction, and millennialism. In a matter of months, Applewhite left his wife and children, left his church, and then Nettles left Houston to begin a nomadic spiritual journey. And by 1973, they were convinced that they were the two witnesses again, described in the Christian book of Revelation.
So they were both bonkers together.
Exactly. They were a toxic couple. And they, well,
but were they a couple
no,
or just like...
pair?
Yeah, because they... Okay. It makes sense because as I've been going through my journey, all I've wanted was like somebody to be on the journey with me. Mm-hmm. So if there's somebody that you're like, oh my God, you believe this too?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you believe this too? Like that would be so easy to be like, let's just go on this journey together. And then people start following you. And then you kind of get thrust into this leadership place that you weren't expecting. But I think that's why it's so important that you thoroughly vet everything that you believe.
Yeah.
Before you just like...
And your partner in it.
Yeah.
You know, to see if they have any traits that might be, what is it? When they want all the attention, when they...
Oh, like charismatic?
No. Like getting out of these kind of relationships with these kind of people.
Narcissistic,
yes. To see if they have any narcissistic tendencies, because that would kind of, you know, be a red flag.
Well,
and show that it's not going to end up well, no matter what.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, wow, that was a tough one. So anyway, they were the two witnesses in the book of Revelation, and they would prepare the way for the kingdom of heaven. It all ended with the horror of mass suicide and Applewhite's own death at 66. But again, Nettles died earlier. So then I wanted to know what happened to Bonnie Nettles. Let's hear her journey and her end. So many events passed in creation of the Heaven's Gate group and the formation of its core members, with Nettles continuing to act as the interpreter of signs and the mystic of the group. In 1983, she had to have an eye removed due to cancer, and her doctor informed her that the disease was already spreading through the rest of her body. Nettles stated that the doctor was ignorant and believed, along with Applewhite, that she could not die as they had to ascend together. Oh, God. The cancer continued to worsen, moving to her liver, and then Nettles died on June 19th, 1985 at Parkland Memorial Hospital in Dallas, Texas. While there as a patient, she used the pseudonym Shelley West. Applewhite convinced the rest of the group that Nettles' broke down vehicle was left behind and had her body cremated, and her ashes were then spread upon a lake somewhere in Texas. Applewhite explained to the group that Nettles had left because her work was done on this level, but that he himself still had more that he had to do.
So they totally lied to their followers.
Well, they led them to their new thought process, yes. Applewhite also said that Nettles would continue to help them from the next level. So she was still there.
Just in her new form.
Yes. Scholars have viewed the death of Nettles as a key turning point in the history of Heaven's Gate, as it caused the theology to shift from a belief that they would physically ascend to the body just being a mere vehicle. Okay. So what drove Applewhite's teachings? Obviously, his own guilt and repression.
Oh, no.
At some point, Applewhite actually had himself castrated.
Oh, because he felt so guilty.
Mm-hmm. So together, Applewhite and Nettles would recruit hundreds of followers around the country and require them to dress alike, cut their hair, and repress any sexual identity. And together they would concoct a theology in which the human body was a mere vessel for an asexual soul that could find salvation only in its home in outer space. Applewhite was so alienated from his homosexuality that he was teaching people not to have sex. He would put people of opposite sexes together and force them to learn to become neutral and non-sexual.
I'm sorry, this sounds miserable.
So this is what I found with a lot of cult leaders, because they are so narcissistic. They don't want people to have what they can't have, right? So even in the Mormon, the Jehovah's Witness, you know, like at first it started out with families together and families reproducing together. And then it became, you're going to let you have more wives. We're going to have more wives so you can marry multiple people. You can birth multiple families with these women, and the women just kind of have to be okay with it. You know what I mean? And then when the leader of the Jehovah's Witnesses was put behind bars, he said that God told him that nobody was allowed to have sex anymore, that sex was not a thing, wow. That it was a sin. So just because he couldn't have sex because he was in jail, nobody could. And so that's the same thing here with Applewhite. You know, like if I have these urges and if it's really hard for me, then I'm going to make sure that everybody has to abstain too, just so that we're all weird asexual people and beings, you know?
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, actually when they found the cult, because it was a mass suicide, I think they were found, from what I read, a few days after it had actually happened, from a tip. The police came and found them all. And at first they thought that they were all men and all males because everybody was dressed exactly the same and had the same haircut. Yeah. So.
Oh my word.
He was basically creating kind of robots.
How did he even get followers? How did he?
That doesn't sound fun to me. You know?
No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but our sexuality is part of who we are. It's part of what teaches us lessons. It's an important part of life.
Right.
You can't just repress that.
Well, he eliminated it completely. Okay. So what was the basis of their teachings? Like, let's try and find out what drew people in.
Please, because the no sex thing would be I think I'm going to go find somebody else.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, cutting my hair short. No, thank you.
I know. Absolutely not.
I'm too vain.
Right? I did that once in high school. It did not turn out well.
Same.
Yeah, you did. That was a great picture.
Shut up. That one was against my will. Thank you very much.
Guys, please, I need other people in the group asking Kayla to post this picture because she won't do it.
I can't find it.
Just if I'm asking. I bet you could find it if you searched your...
I would have to ask my mother. Because I went through my Facebook and her Facebook and I couldn't find it. And you know she's not going to share it. She's weirdly protective of that photo.
It's a hill she's dying on. Okay. So the basis of their teachings. Once they put together their new belief system, Applewhite and Nettles wasted no time advertising their new cult. They prepared presentations for potential followers all over the country.
Oh, so they wanted followers.
Yeah. Because they were the witnesses in Revelation. They needed...
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Applewhite and Nettles would distribute posters that promoted a mixture of conspiracy theories, science fiction, and proselytization?
I guess like setting up a process. Proselytization. Like
yeah, like, that one.
Yep, I know what you mean. Like profiting.
Okay, that. Yeah. Okay, that's what they did.
Uh-huh.
And yet, these invitations were undeniably eye-catching. The word UFOs would often appear in big letters at the top with a disclaimer at the bottom, not a discussion of UFO sightings or phenomena. The posters usually claimed 2 individuals say they were sent from the level above human and will return to that level in a spaceship UFO within the next few months. In 1975, Applewhite and Nettles received national attention after they gave a particularly successful presentation in Oregon. In this presentation, Applewhite and Nettles promoted Heaven's Gate, then called Human Individual Metamorphosis or Total Overcomers Anonymous. Wow, that's flowy.
A word.
With the promise.
Wait, no. What? I meant to say that's wordy or it's a mouthful, and instead it was like, that's a mouth word. neither of our brains are working.
I would just say that, yeah. this isn't our best night with communication.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, so this was with the promise that a spaceship would whisk their followers away to salvation. But first, they had to renounce sex, drugs, and all of their earthly possessions. And in most cases, they also needed to abandon their own families.
Nope, couldn't do it.
Only then could they be elevated to a new world and a better life known as Tila, which is the evolutionary level above human.
Tila? Was there any background on why they chose that?
Yeah, Tila.
Tila.
The evolutionary level above.
Oh, it was literally an acronym. Yep. Okay.
All right. So I wanted to know, what was life like within the cult? What made people want to stay? Followers?
I don't see any perks.
Yeah, no. And you're not going to find any really with what I'm about to tell you. Okay. Followers of the cult in the mid-70s were subjected to strict discipline, including hard rules, no sex, no human level relationships, no socializing.
I feel like you would have to be a very self-loathing person to follow this suit. And it's like, it's the people that felt shame and they just want that shame lifted. So they're just going to go after whatever.
It's like masochism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So their idea of perfection was a kind of androgyny. All buzz cuts, all dressed to erase any trace of sexuality. And so then I found a Ranker article, which was 14 insights into what life was like for cult members in Heaven's Gate by Jacob Shelton, and I'll just read a few key parts. So the members knew that they were in a cult. So most people that are in cults don't know that they are in cults, but the members would often joke of Heaven's Gate and say that it was the cult of all cults and how they were all begging to be brainwashed.
Because they wanted to be free from what they viewed as their sin.
Maybe. Marshall Applewhite was incredibly paranoid. He tried to shy away from the press whenever they investigated the cult, and he forced the Heaven's Gates members to sleep in campgrounds in what he considered good energy states like Colorado and California.
Good energy state. Okay.
I would like to know what bad energy
weed is legal there now, but this was back then.
True. The followers had to change their names. When they were indoctrined into the cult, one of the first things they had to do was change their name. And Marshall White, the group's leader, was the first member to do so, becoming Doe, as in Doe a deer, which may have been a reference to his past life as a college music professor in Texas.
Doe, a deer, a female deer, Ray, a drop of golden sun, me, a name I call myself. Okay, we're not going to go through this.
Okay. Most members would add the suffix Ody or ODY to their adoptive first name in order to define them as children of the next level. I'm not really sure.
This is freaking bizarre.
Yeah. The tone, which is in quotes, kept members from thinking normal thoughts.
Did they have like a frequency that they used?
Let's see. Well, they obviously had to give up their possessions, stop having sex, and dress androgynously. One way they accomplished this was by using what they called the tone. While doing other activities, members would focus their attention on a tone produced from a tuning fork.
Yes.
Okay.
There's these frequencies. So, for instance, like the Travis Scott thing that just happened recently at Astroworld, they had this low frequency playing all day before the actual concert happened, and people were getting nauseated and vomiting pre-concert. And they also think that it's possible that it triggered the stampede kind of thing.
Okay.
By the tones that were in his music, because there's frequencies that mess with your chemistry.
Well, that is actually something I would love to do a podcast episode on, because that was so crazy. All right. Members had to give up their money. I feel like that's with most cults, though. And they believed this was to be eligible for membership in the next level. Humans would have to shred every attachment on the planet. Although Applewhite had his members take on jobs in order to make more money.
What?
And he took their money to fund the cult's lifestyle.
Uh-huh.
So basically he took all their money and then he had them work extra jobs in order to keep the money flowing.
Wow.
So it really doesn't make any sense.
Sounds like a piece of shit person.
Yes. Many members actually opted to be castrated rather than fight their sexual urges. God. Yep. But it does say that people were generally cheerful and upbeat. One of the things that separated members of Heaven's Gate cult from groups like Jonestown or the Manson family was that the members of Heaven's Gate never appeared to be having a bad time. There are hours of footage from inside the cult's home and in every video, and the members of the group seem happy. Although they may have inwardly been under psychological stress, the members are seen smiling as they wait for their swiftly approaching doom.
You know, you think, okay, these people, they're so desperate to be rid of their guilt and their shame that they are literally following a cult that makes them do these things.
Right.
Castration, to me, would remove all of that guilt and shame, so they probably would appear and feel happier because they're not having to fight that sexual urge anymore.
True, but maybe then I don't understand the rule where you can't have connections, like with other people, because then how could you really be joking around or laughing with them if it was against the rule to have a connection of any kind?
You couldn't even have friendships? I missed that.
Yeah, no, it was like looked down upon to have any sort of, I don't know.
I feel like those are the people you spend all your time with. You're going to
so
build
what are you
connection.
Gonna do?
Yeah. There's no way to stop that.
I guess I would have to look into that more and understand it deeper.
Maybe that just meant like sexual connections or romantic connections.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. Everything was regulated down to the last detail. This one was crazy to me because they had everything listed as to what they could and couldn't do, down to what they wear and how they eat. Marshall Applewhite was no different when it came to Heaven's Gate, and in order to get to the next level, he demanded strict obedience from his followers, even when they were making breakfast.
What?
Yeah.
Don't burn my bacon.
So there was like a mixture of pancakes, pancake mix, and you had to document the size, have to make sure that everything matched. You had to cook it for the same side on each side, and how high the burner was turned on. Everything had to be exactly the same.
No, I'm sorry. I could never handle that level of authority.
No, me neither. All right. The next question I had was, what were the last moments like for the members? According to Applewhite, the spaceship/comet theory. Did I explain that well?
You haven't explained it at all. You just said it was tied to Halley's Comet.
Okay, so they believed that a spaceship was coming behind the comet.
Oh, okay.
So that theory was the only way to evacuate this Earth. And the spaceship behind the Hale-Bopp comet was apparently the flight that the Heaven's Gate members had been waiting for all along. It was coming to take them to the higher place that they were seeking. And it was coming just in time. If they waited any longer, Applewhite was convinced that the Earth was going to be recycled while they were still on it.
So he believed this crap.
Uh-huh.
This wasn't just an out for him.
No, he believed it. Yeah. I mean, he died with the rest of the members. So, okay. There were 39 active members at the time of the comet, and they had already used the money that they had made from designing web pages, that was the cult's primary source of income, to rent a mansion near San Diego, and they decided that this mansion would be the best place to leave their vehicles. The night before the mass suicide...
You just picture a car, but no, it's a freaking body.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So the night before the mass suicide, the group went to a Marie Callender's restaurant, which is... ironic.
What a way to go out. Your last meal's a pot pie.
Have you seen all the memes surrounding Marie Callender's right now?
No.
This woman incinerated a Marie Callender's pumpkin pie and then blamed Marie Callender's for it. And there are entire groups now just totally roasting her. No pun intended.
Oh my gosh.
Because she clearly didn't follow directions. Anyway, okay. So the night before the mass suicide, they went to the Marie Callender's restaurant and they all ordered a meal of a garden salad, a turkey pot pie, cheesecake with blueberries, and iced tea.
Because they even have to eat the exact same thing. What
yeah.
No.
Yeah. Starting on about March 22nd or 23rd, the 39 cult members ate applesauce or pudding that they had laced with a heavy dose of barbiturates. Some washed it down with vodka. They did it group by group, placing bags over their heads to ensure asphyxiation, and then they waited for death. This was believed to have happened over the course of a few days. Those later in the lineup cleaned up any mess made by the first groups and laid the bodies out neatly, covering them with purple shrouds. Yeah.
No.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
There were some that delayed it, so they were literally just watching the
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yep. Mm-mm. And then again, everything has to be done in a certain way, so they were all laid out very, very neatly in rows with purple shrouds.
So who laid out the last people?
Well, okay. So there were two people that were left at the end after Applewhite. I'll explain. Okay.
Okay.
So Applewhite was the 37th to die, leaving behind two others to prepare his corpse. and alone in a house full of bodies to take their own lives. So they went into actually a separate room and they committed suicide together, these last two. Yeah. Following an anonymous tip, police enter a mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, an exclusive suburb of San Diego, California, and discover 39 victims of a mass suicide. The deceased, 21 women and 18 men of varying ages, were all found lying peacefully in matching dark clothes and Nike sneakers and had no noticeable signs of trauma or blood. So Nike actually stopped making these particular sneakers, like out of respect for... They didn't want it to become a thing. Where people would buy it just because the cult members had these shoes on.
I'm sorry. I'm just horrified.
I know, it's upsetting. I'm also very desensitized in general. So, but you can find these Nike shoes online and they sell for thousands and thousands of dollars because they're discontinued and a lot of people wore them when they died. So okay. Put yourself in the shoes of the last two. Yeah.
You have literally seen everybody that you've known just die. And now it's your turn. I'm sorry. If it was me, I'd hit and run. Like, I would be so anxious and nervous. Like, it would not be an honor for me. I would not be excited. Like, no.
Well, but then you think those are your only people in life because everything else has been stripped away from you and they're all supposedly together on this next plane. You know, you're already so wrapped up in the brainwashing that
it literally makes me nauseous thinking about it.
It's crazy. It is insane, but I mean, I understand the thought process of not wanting to be left behind then, you know?
I mean, I'm glad that they at least got rid of themselves before they got a bigger crowd and following.
Yeah, it had dwindled at that point, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, not many people want a sexist, androgynous lifestyle, so.
No, not my idea of a good time.
No.
So I wanted to end it with the first person perspective. So this is somebody who had escaped Heaven's Gate, and I thought it would be interesting to hear his take. So this was from an article called What Life Was Really Like Inside 9 Famous Cults According to Survivors and Who Got Out by Marco Margaritov. I think that's right. No, yeah. Okay, anyway. Being in the Heaven's Gate cult was an experience in which I gave my power away on all levels, said survivor Frank Lifford. I had to wake up to the fact that I had given power away before I could wake up to the fact that I could take it back. Lifford left the cult in 1993, a few years before the group's infamous mass suicide shocked America in 1997. In total, 39 bodies were discovered in the cult's Rancho Santa Fe compound, and they included Lifford's friends, his cousin, and Erica Ernst, the love of his life. As recently as 2019, Lifford admitted that he still thinks about the famous cult and the images of his dead friends found covered in purple shrouds wearing matching Nike sneakers with plastic bags over their heads, and this haunts him to this day. I knew it was the same group I was a part of, so it was a very emotional time for me, from the standpoint of feeling the loss of all my friends that I had been with for 18 years, he said.
See, there's a connection there.
Exactly.
So it's got to be like a romantic or sexual connection that they tried to eliminate.
Yeah, you're right. Fortunately for Lifford, he avoided the same fate as his peers by defecting from the famous cult. Nonetheless, it wasn't easy, as his future prospects seemed bleak. All he'd known for 18 dedicated years of devotion were Applewhite's prophecies, his friendships, and his relationship with Ernst. It was this deep, gut-felt misgiving of remaining in the group, remaining in the cult, he said. I couldn't express it at the time, and I don't know what my life would look like or what it'd be like adjusting to life outside of the group. I just know I couldn't remain in the cult anymore. He returned to his parents' home in Canada for some much-needed neutrality and peace, but 2 days after escaping Heaven's Gate, he received a harrowing call from the woman that he loved. She begged him to return while he tried to get her to leave. But for true believers like Ernst, leaving was not an option. Lifford explained that the cult's goal was, in effect, ascension to a higher level of existence. As such, Ernst disregarded Lifford's advice that she should leave. The call ended unsuccessfully, and 4 years later, Ernst was dead. If I were back on that call with her right now, I would be more emphatic about her leaving, Lifford said. When news of the mass suicide reached him, Lifford was emotionally shattered. My initial response was, okay, they've gone and done it, he recalled. My thought was, okay, this is the group that I was a part of, and they finally pulled the trigger on their decision to leave. In the end, Lifford has found some semblance of grace amidst the traumatizing experience. While the horrific incident remains a part of him, the most valuable lesson Lifford learned from it seems to have won out. We all have a connection to the divine within us, and we all have that radio transmitter built in. We don't need anyone to translate that for us, he said. That was the big mistake that we all made, in my mind. It was believing that we needed someone else to tell us what our best path should be.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, nowadays they're like, look within. That's where the answers are.
Yeah. So that's my cult. Yeah.
Okay, well, mine is like one of those cults that sneaks up on you, and you don't know it's a cult.
Okay.
It's a very interesting thing because I don't know that the leader intended to be a cult leader per se, but it became one because he was making excuses for his bad behaviors. So I'm covering the Angel's Landing cult. I got most of my information from a Dateline episode about it called Angels and Demons. It was just easier because a lot of the articles that I was reading, they were put the same way, but there was no victim perspective, and I wanted the victim's perspective. So most of this is told from the viewpoint of two sisters, Sarah and Emily, and kind of how they got sucked into it, and then what they went through during that time. Okay? So it was their tagline was a special place for a chosen few. The biggest place that they lived on was 20 acres in Wichita, Kansas. It was like this nondescript compound commune thing, like just a bunch of houses on this parcel of land. Wouldn't really think anything of it. Sarah was 16 at the time, and her sister Emily was 9.
I hate it when kids are in cults. Ugh.
Oh, it gets so bad.
Okay.
Prepare yourself. So they had a normal, happy life, but then their parents divorced in 2001. Their mother, Jennifer, who was a realtor, actually showed some houses to Lou Castro. He was a well-to-do cowboy. Just seemed very nice. He was looking for property for a new age commune, so he was open and honest with her about it. It was him and at that time, a couple named Trish and Brian and their baby daughter. She found them a place, but a relationship developed between her and Lou during that time. And shortly later, Lou decided he was going to pick up his commune and move. And Jennifer and her 2 daughters went with him. They moved to a 10-acre mini farm in Wichita at the time. So not a huge move, but big enough that there was some distance between them and their dad. Sarah, who was 16 at the time, said, "My mom had a journal and she had written how she felt she needed to protect Lou. I guess he appeared innocent or as someone who cared too much. My mother was very thoughtful when it came to people, so she felt like she somehow needed to protect him. He was very charismatic and quite the talker, and he appeared wise." So
charismatic.
Just this guy that's fun to be around. He makes you feel like you belong. You know, that was kind of his gimmick. So on this commune, everybody ate together. There were no chores. Trish and Brian were there. Brian was a mechanic. Lou organized the downtime, throwing parties, buying cars, ATVs, model planes. I mean, that was like the big thing was they had Corvettes. They had like all these high-end cars, and anything they wanted, they got it.
How did they get the money for this? I missed this part. Okay.
That's the question. So the 2 girls, Sarah and Emily, got whatever they wanted. Emily wanted a horse for her birthday, and she remembers saying, totally understand that's like super expensive. She got 3 horses.
Can I join?
Sorry. You're not going to want to join when you find out the rest of this. Emily said in the beginning, it was like a huge support system and everybody was close. In the beginning, things were all fine and dandy, but it didn't take long for things to turn. So Trish, she was kind of like the substitute mom. So she would step in and kind of take care of everybody when Jennifer was out doing her real estate stuff. And she was just like a surrogate mom for them. So Lou and Sarah had gone to a car dealership to get her a car while Trish and her toddler were supposed to clean the pool. Not sure why a toddler needs to be involved in cleaning a pool.
Absolutely not.
The toddler supposedly fell in.
Oh, no.
And Trish slipped, hit her head, and fell in trying to save her toddler. Emily came upon them and got the toddler out, but Trish was dead. It was determined that her death was a freak accident. 2 years prior, Emily and Sarah vaguely recalled a 15-year-old boy named Cody Griffith who lived on the outskirts of the commune when it was in Texas. So before they came to Kansas, they were in Texas. And his mom, Mona, had lived with Trisha and Lou. Trisha had not met Brian, was not married yet, didn't have a daughter. But Mona lived there with her 2 kids. and Cody stayed behind to live with his dad. So same situation, divorced mother, drawn to Lou, came in with her kids. Cody was like, no, I want my dad, stayed behind. So then at some point they wind up in South Dakota. That's where Trish meets and marries Brian. So you're seeing like a pattern. They move every so often to different states, different places. So Trish meets Brian, marries him. Mona meets a boyfriend. And in February 2001, Mona, her daughter Lindsay, and her boyfriend took a small plane to Nebraska, but the plane went missing. Mona's boyfriend, who was flying the plane, hadn't filed a flight plan, so no one knew where they were. Now, Lou, interestingly enough, was a former pilot mechanic, so he was trying to find them.
Okay.
He seemed very upset over their disappearance, and the search party was grateful to have him because he seemed like he knew what he was doing. So then during, I guess, like the funeral, they had like a gathering of Lindsay's school friends, and Lou was noticeably popular with the teenage girls.
Oh.
They all knew him, but they didn't know Lindsay's mom, Mona. Mona's sisters were like, this is really weird. Something's off about this. And that was like the first clue that somebody got, like.
So wait, Mona was gone from the plane crash.
Yes, and Lindsay too. Mona and Lindsay were gone.
That was her daughter.
Yes, and her sisters were helping organize like the funeral and stuff, and were at these gatherings and noticed that Lou just had like this natural relationship with Lindsay's friends, this teenage
the young girl's friends. Okay,
right. So it was really weird.
I must need like a tree of names.
I know, sorry.
That's okay.
So 6 weeks after the plane went missing, the wreckage was found and there were obviously no survivors. Lou was incredibly upset and kind of off the cuff told Cody, who's Lindsay's brother, that Lindsay was not supposed to have been on the plane, and had she stayed behind, he would have taken Lindsay and left.
So it was planned.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
But Cody was so deep in grief that he didn't really question it at that time.
Okay.
So the question then in Cody's mind was, how did he know she wasn't supposed to be on the plane?
Right.
Lou, this is weird. Okay, so there's Mona, there's a dad, there's a brother involved, there's aunts and uncles. But Lou and Trish determined the burial place, and in the obituary, they named Lou as her brother.
What?
As Mona's brother.
Was he married and they didn't know about it? Like,
nope.
Was this okay?
Nope. They just inserted themselves in there like they were the family.
That is so weird.
So,
wait. What? Explain to me the relationship between Lou and Mona.
There wasn't really one. She just felt like accepted by him. The same thing that happened with him and Jennifer. They didn't really have, they may have had a little romantic relationship, but it wasn't like boyfriend, girlfriend, or engagement.
And Jennifer is the one that had the two girls that are
Sarah and Emily.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All right.
I'm all caught up.
So after Trish passed from falling in the pool, another woman joined the family, and Lou actually got engaged to her, and he had a daughter on the way. So over this period, Lou spent about $1.5 million just on cars.
How?
He had all kinds of extravagant vehicles, and all of them had license plate Angel 1, Angel 2, Angel 3, Angel 4, so on and so forth. He even donated $19,000 towards new police cars. And he invited cops to his extravagant parties, right?
Wants to get on their good side.
Yep. So the cops kind of started to get a little suspicious.
Yeah.
They're like, where does this man get his money from?
Right.
He doesn't work. Who is giving him all of this money? So they started looking into him, but it was not an easy thing to do because they realized Lou Castro didn't exist. He didn't have a background. The only hit on him online was the obituary where he was listed as Mona's brother. So they went through his trash, like real covertly, trying to be like, okay, it's got to be drugs, right? He's like moving drugs. They went through it, all of his trash. There was nothing, no evidence of anything. But they did find that all of the utility bills were under the names of the commune members, not his. So 3 years later, Brian the mechanic was crushed under a car he was fixing. Now, he's a professional mechanic. He does this all the time. And somehow a jack failed and crushed him.
Yeah.
But the weirdest part is, supposedly he had been depressed. There was like this story that he was depressed. He was talking to Lou more about his feelings. And someone had heard Lou say, "Don't worry, you'll get your chance to go to the other side." Now, the day he died, he called to say goodbye to his daughter hours before. And it was classified again as another freak accident.
So was this an assisted suicide?
Just wait. So in 2008, Sarah was 24 at this time and Emily was 17. Their mom, Jennifer, was driving her car, swerved into oncoming traffic, hit a gravel truck head on, and died instantly. Labeled another freak accident.
What in the world?
So cops started to realize there's a pattern here. Every 2 or 3 years, there's a mysterious death classified as an accident. They had no proof that Lou Castro was involved, but it seemed to follow him and his commune members. In 2009, Lou took off again. He told Sarah and Emily they had to leave and go to Tennessee, and the move was supposedly for Emily so she could be closer to Vanderbilt. She was like the golden child, okay? So she got anything she wanted.
But she wasn't even Lou's.
No.
Yeah.
But he took all of these
girls,
daughters of the people who were dying as his own.
Ugh.
So, Emily was like, "Well, we're going to Vanderbilt for me. Like, I've got to go with you." But Sarah was like, "No, I'm 24. This is enough for me. I'm not going." She stayed with her dad, and Lou was very, very angry with her. Why they weren't back with their dad to begin with is beyond me. So Sarah fell in love with a guy named Daniel, and she just naturally over their relationship started just spilling all the shit that had happened to them. Now, nobody had talked about what was going on in the actual cult until Daniel. So Daniel listened to everything. He did some research unbeknownst to her and put together a letter and sent it to the FBI. And he was like, "These are my suspicions. These are the theories I have about where his money is coming from. I have not enough proof to do anything about it, but I'm very concerned because, he loves Sarah."
Right.
So privately, the cops actually questioned Lou without Sarah knowing. They obtained a license tag to a vehicle in Tennessee that was registered to a Joe Venegas, and they thought it might be Lou. So Lou opened a bank account under Joe Venegas, and they caught security footage of him posing as Joe Venegas with Emily by his side opening this bank account. And they were like, "There's our smoking gun. This is proof that he is this Joe Venegas guy." So when they showed up to arrest him, he said he was Lou. He was like, "I'm not Joe. I don't know this Joe." So they still arrested him. They searched his property. He continued to refuse to give them his real name because they knew his name wasn't Joe and it wasn't Lou. He was still going off this thing saying it was Lou.
Yeah.
They fingerprinted him and nothing showed up in the database.
So is that a thing though, that it won't show up unless you have a prior record?
Yeah. I mean, you would have had to have had some kind of record before. So apparently he was just really good at not getting caught.
I guess so.
So he was sentenced to 2 years in prison for ID fraud. So they went back to the first location of this Lou Castro guy, and they found that Trish had been with a Daniel Perez. And after looking, they discovered they were one and the same. This was this Lou guy. So his actual name was Daniel Perez. And he had pleaded no contest to 2 sex crimes in the mid-90s, but they were dismissed because he was believed to be dead.
Oh.
So he faked his death and became this Lou Castro guy to get out of these sex crimes.
Oh, gross.
So,
but his fingerprints should have been in there then.
Yeah, but I think it was because he was classified as dead. Daniel Perez was dead.
I mean, I guess. I feel like they still would have shown up.
I don't know. So during this time, Emily wrote Lou while in prison to let him know she was really happy, she was doing well, and he chewed her out for it. He was so mad that she was happy. And I think that was just the straw that broke the camel's back, because that's when she just let loose and talked about everything that had happened. So when Sarah was 16 and Emily was 10, their mom asked if Lou seemed special and told them that he was a seer. He had told their mom he was thousands of years old and could see the future. Their mom stayed close because she thought that he could protect them. Others in the commune believed he was a direct descendant of Geronimo and could make it rain and bring good health to those at death's door. There were stories of him healing dead animals and sick people. Lou said he was an angel who was in a human body. And Emily thought, like, oh, this is super cool. He's an angel. Like, she felt special because he wanted her so close. He promised to take care of them and keep them safe. But he made it known he was the boss. He was also a master manipulator, clearly.
Obviously.
He said
narcissist, because I can remember that word now.
He said that there were 3 angels. Like, they were like angel alter egos that would take over his body. So he was Lou, but a Daniel, an Amber, and an Arthur resided in his body and would take over during certain things that he didn't want to claim were him. So Amber was the angel of death. She would come around when someone would die. So he could see who would die, and he would come forth and say, Trish, it's going to be your time soon. You're going to be dying soon.
Okay.
But he told people that he could bring them back. So once they died, he was going to resurrect them because he was an angel. He could do that. So then
Risky. That's risky.
Yeah. But when Amber was around, he apparently would not blink, and he'd get this evil grin on his face. He predicted their mother's death as well.
Of course he did. Because he did it.
So there was an incident that Emily talked about prior to Trish's death. Lou had a vision that Trish was going to die and told Emily it was her time. He couldn't be there when she died because it would destroy his power as a seer, but that he would bring her back. Trish was listening to all of this. She knew what was going on. She knew what he was saying. On the day that Trish died, he told Emily to stay behind and that it was time for Trish to die. He set up the pool equipment and told her to wait with Trish's daughter, and she waited in the workshop. She heard a splash and a scream, and then Lou came in and was panting and wet. He told her to wait 20 minutes and go out there and make sure they both jumped in so they were wet, and then to call 911. So she did as she was told. And because of that, she told the police that Lou was not there, that Trish had fallen in, and she had saved the daughter from drowning by jumping in. So it was her story that led to him not being caught for all of that. After that, Lou actually convinced Emily that she had been in a time warp, and she wasn't even at the pool when Trish had died. So Emily waited for Lou to bring Trish back, but obviously it never happened. The craziest part of the story about Emily came when she admitted she shared the bed with Lou as a 10-year-old every single night. He convinced her that this was her job to take care of him. As a seer, he needed to have sex with a pure little girl so he could survive. He would validate it with old biblical stories about how little girls were special. She loved him and she wanted to take care of him, so she did it. Even when he got engaged and had a child, she was still sexually abused, but moved out of his room at that point. Lou tried to control her sister Sarah and make her jealous of Emily, and he was more violent with her. He would rape Sarah if she didn't do what he wanted, and she said that he raped her upwards of hundreds of times.
Oh my God.
He would rape her and tell her that he was fixing her, and she didn't know what to do, so she would lay there, and then when he was done, be like, am I fixed now? Like, she didn't know what that meant. He backed up his abuse with demonic threats via these angels inhabiting his body, and he would threaten to take their souls to purgatory if they didn't do what he was asking. He also threatened to kill their dad. The next day, he would apologize as Lou that it had happened and say, I'm so sorry. You know, the angels took over. There was nothing I could do about it. It wasn't me, blah, blah, blah. So clearly for young girls, this would be incredibly confusing.
Yeah.
Also, Lou had Sarah videotape a young girl in the bathroom, and she brought it to him. And he was like, no, you didn't get a good enough shot. So he made her go back and do it again. And this one, he controlled her by telling her, I'm going to kill your dad if you don't do it.
My God.
None of the adults saw or knew that he was doing this. He never bruised the girls. It wasn't weird for them to disappear with him for an hour or two. Nobody thought anything of it because they trusted him. He was Lou.
Right, but the sleeping arrangement. I mean, I guess nobody kept tabs on these girls?
I think they just saw it as like he was an uncle or something. He only slept with Emily.
Yeah.
Sarah, he would just abuse, but like Emily was the one that was in his bed every night.
Yeah, but that, I mean, like, how do you hide that?
I don't know.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
So Daniel Perez was arrested right after his identity theft sentence. So they waited till he served his 2 years. And then the second he got out, they were like, nope.
Yay! That's so great.
Took him back in and they recharged him with 28 accounts, including first-degree murder, rape, fraud, and other sex crimes. 20 accounts were sexual abuse of children ages 8 to 16. During the trial, Emily testified and told them what had happened, and more witnesses came forward. 4 women from 3 other states also told the same story of malevolent angels controlling them as he raped them. He signed... Okay, so this is how he did it. He signed nothing, but he used the people's names from the commune to sign for loans on the mortgages, cars, all of that. All 5 people he had killed, he'd predicted their deaths prior, and they each had life insurance policies with payouts totaling $4.2 million. And they were paid out to the commune members.
Okay, I feel like the police maybe should have caught on to that.
I know. He made over $1 million off Trish alone.
That's insane.
Yeah. As soon as the accounts would get low, Daniel would predict someone was going to die. He would kill them and then cash out on their life insurance policies.
Jeez.
He kept moving so there wouldn't be a trail and he could claim more sexual victims.
Yeah.
Now, they actually interviewed Daniel on this Dateline. He acted like he knew nothing about any of this.
I want to say his name, Daniel Perez.
Yes.
Which is, say the cult name one more time.
Angel's Landing.
Angel's Landing. Okay.
So he claimed none of this was true. He claimed he moved around a lot because he was moving money. He was a mule and he was worth maybe $500,000. As far as the names, he told anyone he had sex with to call him by any name except Lou. And that's where the other names came from. He claimed he did not kill Trish. He was at the dealership and that she had died by accident. Like, to the interviewer's face, he's denying that he was there. He denied having anything to do with anyone's death, and he denied ordering the videos that Sarah took, saying, and I quote, "They found the videos on her computer, not mine. Has anyone considered the fact that she was the one doing it?"
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, isn't he just a peach?
Ew, gross.
He looked decent when he was younger. Like, I can see why he would be somebody that they were attracted to.
Okay. Anyway.
But yeah. So he claims that Sarah was of age and willingly consented to the sex. They were just having fun.
Okay.
And he claims that one of the girls was even dating a police officer and the cops hung out the ranch, yet no one ever said anything.
Disgusting.
He was found guilty on one account of first-degree murder because Trish is the only one that they could prove.
Yeah.
Because Emily had the story backed up. They still don't know how. I mean, if he's a plane mechanic, he could easily make the plane go down.
Right. And they just, well, wouldn't they have found a plane crash at some point?
They did find the wreckage.
Oh, they did?
But there were no survivors. Yeah.
Oh, got it.
But then, like, what did he do to make Jennifer swerve into oncoming traffic? You know, he wasn't in the car.
Yeah.
So it's just, there was a lot of unknowns. So 8 counts of rape, 7 counts of aggravated criminal sodomy, 3 counts of aggravated assault, 1 count of sexual exploitation of a child, and 8 counts of making false information. He was sentenced to 2 life sentences and received another 33 years for the rest of the charges with no possibility of parole for 80 years.
Thank God. So he's never getting out.
No.
Good.
They think that he definitely orchestrated Brian's death, considering Brian called to say goodbye to his daughter beforehand. That's very suspicious. But anyway, so Sarah and Emily both are happily married. Emily actually married Daniel. No.
Wait.
Sarah married Daniel. Sorry.
Oh.
Her boyfriend was named Daniel, who sent the letter to the FBI.
Okay.
So Sarah married Daniel. Emily got married as well. They were working on healing. But Sarah said, you know, I don't think cults are actually that common. I think that my situation was very uncommon. My mom just kind of accepted all of these whimsical things that he would tell her. She was just sucked into it. I don't think it's a very common thing. Mm-hmm. But I also think that people who are in a cult probably don't realize they're in a cult until they've been out for a while. I didn't realize I was in a cult until I'd been out for a few years.
Yeah.
So that's the story of Angel's Landing.
Jeez.
And Daniel Perez.
What a gross person.
I know. But it's crazy to me because it's not like he set out planning to lead a cult.
Yeah.
He just needed to cover his fucking lies.
Right.
And all of his crimes.
Gross.
And people just followed him because he was charismatic.
Yeah.
And cute and trustworthy and
narcissistic.
Yep.
God. Ugh. Well, gross.
I told you it was going to be gross.
Okay. Well, after all of that, I thought it might be interesting to take a quiz together. So what we're going to do is find out how much we know about cults, but we don't know if the answers were correct until the end. So you and I are going to need to decide on an answer together when I go through this. Okay?
Okay.
So members of which cult were told that God was an alien? Heaven's Gate? The Manson family?
I think we know it's Heaven's Gate, right?
Or the Branch Davidians. Heaven's Gate. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they said God was an alien. Well, yeah, they did because they were going. Yeah, they're going up to a higher plane, astral being.
They were trying to ascend.
Heaven's Gate. We're gonna go with Heaven's Gate. Okay, so number 2. Which cult made its home in Waco, Texas? The People's Temple, the Manson family, the Branch Davidians, or Heaven's Gate?
Wasn't it the Manson family?
I thought the Manson family was in California. Because they killed an actress.
Okay, what were the other options?
The People's Temple. I don't think it's that. The Branch Davidians.
I'm realizing I don't know a lot about cults, actually.
I'm going to go. Either the People's Temple or the Branch Davidians.
I really thought it was the Mansons, but okay.
Well, we can go with Mansons.
I mean, I could be wrong.
I'll go with Manson.
I just remember Waco.
I remember Waco too, but I don't think that wasn't the Mansons. Okay. Which cult would charge members money to drink their leader's blood? I'm sorry, everybody. Shinrikyo? AUMSHINRIKYO.
If they're going to make a cult, they should really make it pronounceable.
The Manson family, Heaven's Gate, or Children of God?
I feel like it's the Mansons. They did weird shit.
Yeah, I think it's the Mansons too.
Oh, that means that's probably not the Mansons.
Yeah, I also agree with that. Okay. Which cult required that male members be surgically castrated? Heaven's Gate, I don't think it was required. It was just something that they did to feel more comfortable.
Well, what are the other options?
Children of God, could be. The People's Temple or the Branch Davidians.
I'll let you take the reins on this one.
I'm going to say Children of God. Sounds like something they might do. Okay. Actor Joaquin Phoenix and Rose McGowan were born into what cult? Scientology, the Branch Davidians, Aum Shinrikyo, or Children of God?
I feel like Children of God.
Yeah, I think so too. It wasn't Scientology. Okay, which cult operated as a therapy center and a commune? The People's Temple, the Sullivan Institute, Aum Shinrikyo, or, oh God, Bhagwan Sri Rajneeshis.
I mean, the Sullivan Institute sounds like an institute.
It does. Sounds like a therapy center.
Right.
And we're going with that. What cult was featured in Netflix's documentary Wild Wild Country? Bhagwan Sri Rajneeshis? The Manson family, the Sullivan Institute, or Aum Shinrikyo?
I have no idea, but this Aum Shinrikyo is very popular.
With that.
Okay.
Which cult believes that human beings are genetically engineered by aliens? Raelism? 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 Aum Shinrikyo? The Sullivan Institute or the People's Temple?
Maybe Raelism?
Let's go with that. Yeah. Which cult believes that its members should abandon all modern comforts? All of them. The Brethren? Probably that. A Kankar? ECKANKAR, Aum Shinrikyo, or the Sullivan Institute? The Brethren.
Yeah, it's got to be the Brethren.
Okay, I think this is the last one. Which cult commonly marries members by the thousands? The People's Temple, Unification Church, the Sullivan Institute, Heaven's Gate. We know it's not Heaven's Gate.
I'm between the People's Temple and
Unification Church. I'm going to go with Unification because it seems like a lot of people are unified.
Right.
Let's go with that. All right. We scored 60%. Okay. We were correct on one. Told that God was an alien. Okay. Heaven's Gate. Cult made its home in Waco, Texas was the Branch Davidians. Yeah. Which cult would charge members money to drink their leader's blood? Aum Shinrikyo.
Not interested in that one.
Okay, this is untrue. Which cult required that male members be surgically castrated? They said Heaven's Gate. That is untrue. They didn't require it. There were many members that were not castrated that were male. Okay. Joaquin Phoenix and Rose McGowan were born into the Children of God. We were right. We were also right on the therapy center and commune was the Sullivan Institute. We were incorrect on Wild Wild Country, which was a Netflix documentary, and it was apparently Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh's.
Really rolls off the tongue.
Mm-hmm. We were correct with realism, which is that human beings are genetically engineered by aliens.
Okay.
We were correct on the last two also, which is Brethren believes its members should abandon all modern comforts. And which cult commonly marries members by the thousands was indeed Unification Church. I mean,
that's not bad.
We didn't do too bad.
That's not a bad track record.
That's right. All right, cool. What a fun little quiz.
I can confidently say that I don't think I will ever get sucked into a cult. You, on the other hand.
I probably wouldn't.
Not with me in your life.
There you go.
I'll keep you safe.
Appreciate it. I wouldn't because I have kids. But if I was young and single and...
Well, what if they were like, the whole family can come?
Do they have horses? Do they have good food?
You can have any horse you want.
Okay. Well,
I mean, like Daniel Perez, you can have literally anything you want. No chores. Everybody ate together. They're like a big family. That is like legit something you'd get sucked into.
I was thinking in my head, no, it does sound good. That does sound good.
Until you get raped by Amber or Arthur.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, just keep an eye out for me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I already got you on my radar.
All right, kiddos. It's been fun. Thank you for listening to this. I don't even know.
Really uncomfortable episode.
Yeah. I was going to
really
say.
Dark and twisty episode.
Hope you enjoyed.
Good luck sleeping.
Good luck sleeping.